Call a meeting to order, please. This is a work session of Mayor and Council, and notice was given as follows. One, notice was filed January 18th, 2022, with the record and George Elder, both official newspapers of the borough. Two, notice was posted on the bulletin board, and three, copies preserved in the clerk's office. Tonight, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilperson Stephanie Jang, and please remain standing for a moment of silence for the people of the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Right? Yes, Kim?
Yes.
Mrs. Mayor, Councilman Lim will be absent from the work session today.
Please have a motion to accept the absence, please. Anybody?
I'll make a motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it. All in favor? Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Mayor, Councilwoman Kerr will be a couple minutes late, she's on her way. Petrie?
Here.
Borough Attorney?
Here.
Borough Administrator? Okay. Public hearing for the 2022 Bergen County Trust Fund Municipal Program for Park Development.
Can I get a motion to open to the public for the public hearing? Anybody?
Anybody motion?
We need a motion to go into the public hearing for the pool.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Anybody out in the public? Yes, ma'am. Susan?
Susan Brown, can you explain what's happening at the pool? Are you doing away with the kiddie pool?
No.
Or?
So we like to, remove the kiddie pool to a splash pad, which just seems to be more safer option that most of the pool complexes are going towards. So rather than having a full-size kiddie pool of 18 inches, it's more of a splash area that gets to run around and play.
It's a grant, dollar match that we receive. Anyone else? Yes.
My name is Yubong Wonyo. I live at 268 Highland Avenue. I have several questions.
Okay, wait, this is only on the, just on the pool.
Oh,
related
on the-
matters.
okay, then
For now.
I will go.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else regarding the pool? Yes.
Hi, I have a question. I would like to get more detail why we only accepting cash at the pool. It's something that is really
We'll
concerning.
address that a little bit later. This is for the improvement of the pool only.
Okay,
We'll
okay.
open it
All
up
right,
later.
okay, because I heard only for the pool, okay, no problem.
Anyone else for the pool improvement? I don't see any hands raised. Can I get a motion to close to the public? Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Project room.
Okay, what's your hand? Before we open it up to the public, I'd like to make a comment. As you know, we have been working diligently on the budget for 2022. A budget is a list of significance and acts as a guide to make sure taxpayers' money is spent responsibly. With this budget, you will see that my urgencies are this community's health, safety, and well-being, and quality of life. I believe that our seniors are the bedrock, our children are the future, and we must be responsible for our taxpayers who have struggled through some difficult times to remain in their homes and in the town that we love. This year's budget was not an easy one. As we deal with the aftermath of the pandemic, the multitude of storms, including Ida, and the ever-rising cost of inflation. The constraint and difficulties of the budgets are perhaps much like what you are managing in your own households or business budget. These are not that these are not easy times. The borough saw a decrease in overall revenues, increase in health insurance costs, and overtime hours for staffing with COVID protocols, as I remain concerned about the health and safety of our staff and residents. There were some tough choices that had to be made these past couple of years, and I made them. And I know you had to make them too. But look at us today. I could not be prouder of how this community came together to preserve helping one another. With another year ahead of us, I look forward working toward getting Palisades Park moving into the right direction again. This budget is a good one that we could be proud of. I will not sacrifice or reduce government services, and we will inch forward in making progress in our programs and improve quality of life for all of our residents. We will work together to take the first step out of the pandemic and invest back into Palisades Park. In this post-pandemic year, we have to be thoughtful and intentional in planning for our future expenses. We have to maximize the value while being conservative with taxpayers' hard-earned money. It is this type of careful planning that has enabled us to enjoy one of the lowest tax rates in Bergen County and one of the highest per square foot property values in the entire state. Maximizing value while minimizing dollars spent. That has been my focus pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, and continues to be post-pandemic. I hope that my colleagues can agree on the merits of this budget and can collaborate to deliver a budget that prioritizes our community's health, safety, and well-being, and quality of life. I have requested to cut additional $100,000 to our CFO and business administrator, and I am also urging all of our council members to offer inputs, as I have, in finding further budget cuts without jeopardizing our services to the residents of Palisades Park. Having said that, I'd like to have a motion to open to the public to discuss budget.
May I also add something, please?
Sure.
Okay, I have checked the executed budget, which was that we used in 2021. And our most chunk of the money goes to the people's salary. And also I found out if the people's salary was about 9-point-something million, our miscellaneous was 11 million something dollars. Of course, there must be a lot of small categories that they cannot specify all over for $11 million of usage. But when I think about it, we need to conserve when we are in serious situation. Even every home, you conserve the energy, right? You just cut off all the lights that you don't need. You use much less water at home, and you try to save even one paper, right? One page of paper. If it is okay for us, I would like to print my agenda from home and bring it. So we will save our town's paper. You know, we really have to look for the way to tighten our belt. Miscellaneous, everybody from a BA's office down to all the way to DPW, I hope our employees also help us to save. So one pen could be saved, one page of paper could be saved. When we save all of these things, I'm sure that we can save hundreds of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let's do that. I really wanna say, even to myself, all of us here, and the council and BA, everybody works for town, let's just please try. Year 2020, let's try to save and see how much we can save at the end of this year. So we will all feel very good about how much we can do, how much we can save people's tax money and ourselves. probably we can find here and there savings. Electricity, water, telephone, many things, even little stationaries. And I'm sure, if we try hard, we can save more than 1%. Thank you.
In reference to the budget cutting, I'm talking specifically about the police department. The budget that we have now, I'm seeing that we normally order 2 police cars per year. And what happens, you have to remember, these cars are on the road 24/7. The budget has been cut so that we're not ordering, or we cannot order 2 new police cars. This is gonna jack up the maintenance on the older vehicles. And I believe that it's gonna be a problem later on in the year for the services for the police department, for the residents of Palisades Park. If these police officers cannot get to a call, I think the residents are suffering, and I know they're suffering. So you want to save money, I believe that this budget has been cut very, very thin. But remember one thing, it's very, very thin. You're gonna cut out training in the police department. You're gonna be cutting out different equipment, supplies. It's gonna be down to the bare essentials, and along with the police vehicles in the middle of the year, which we're getting close to, we're gonna be having problems. And I just want everybody to understand that the police are not the enemies, but we also have to protect the police to come out and protect the public. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, point well taken. So can I get a motion to open to the public?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Budget.
On budget only, we're talking, it's a budget issue, right?
Yes.
All
Okay.
in favor?
All
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Yes.
My name is Youngmin Jung, address 50 East Palisades Boulevard, house number B as a Bravo. I just want to say something of the historical, what happened to Palisades Park Mayor and Council. 2020, council member Andy Min is not here. At that time, we were stricken by COVID-19. And then Andy Min just proposed a special council meeting to tie up our budget. But at that time, Mayor Christopher Zhang issued a public letters announcement to all the residents of the Palisades Park that already has drastically cut the budget. So I don't think that was a drastically cut. But right now, at this point, in his, I think, a second term of the election, he really wanted to just tie up our budget and then tax. So I am the resident, I really welcome. And this is very important council meeting. But I see 2 councils are missing. I was told, do you know any of you, probably Andy Min already, submitted reason why he cannot be here tonight. But as a resident, we have been insisted that we have to go back to the normal time, 6 p.m. for the people who finished 5 p.m. But Andy Min, I'm personally heard, I was told that his parents visited Korea, he's running his own business, that's why he cannot be here. I feel very sorry. And then Cindy Parra, she's not here. This is very, very important council meeting for 2020,000 budget. So anyway, I just really welcome, Christopher Zhang, mayor, he wants to drastically cut for the pandemic, I welcome. But I want also, we have to just more be serious about this meeting, and I want just what is the reason why? What is the emergency? Why they cannot come for this meeting? We are just given public participation only once, right? So they need to talk, and we want to hear what your standpoint. That's it. Thank you so much.
Marcia Shaw, first of all,
I can't print my own agenda, and I don't think a piece of paper is gonna make a difference, considering they come out with a report. As far as people being out, people do get sick. The room is filled now. There are times when my sister and I come, half the room is empty. You don't always come to the meetings either. So, people do get sick, or something comes up and they cannot make it. It's impossible to be everywhere, every time.
My name is Yuba Moon. I live at 268 Highland Avenue. So what's the bottom line? What's the proposed, increase rate compared with the last year and now?
The mayor and council were very succinct. This budget is still fluid, it's still ongoing. The administrator has made it very clear, we're meeting again and again and again to try to reduce even further the appropriations. With that said, right now, we are at a $114 increase on the municipal side of this tax rate. It's $114. It's in line with the previous years. It also incorporates, which the council all unanimously agreed to, use the American Rescue Plan money. That is from the United States, and that's to help us, like it's helping everyone in America, trying to combat as best we can the inflation. The borough's eating the inflation just like you are at home. Everyone is very, very prudent on this budget, on this days.
I have a question, don't mind. Stephanie Jang, council lady, did. Oh, sorry. Stephanie Jang, council lady, said that the save, which is a great idea, and I agree with her. But, what is $11 million? What is the miscellaneous? You said $11 million, correct?
Yes, that's what I saw on our auditor company gave us.
But my question is, well, this city, I'm not really sure if we could save $11 million by not getting a piece of paper.
Well, the answer to that is you're 100% correct. And the budget for each category and each department is basically broken into two areas: salary and wages, and OE, other expenses. Other expenses encompasses everything other than salary and wages. So if you total them all up, miscellaneous or OE, other expenses total $11 million. What is included in there, anything that's purchased other than the salary or wage, insurance, health insurance, legal fees, professional fees, everything else. Is that correct, Mr. Lieutenant?
So the public understands a little bit about the other expenses. The other expenses incorporate expenses for the federal government, Social Security wages. It includes the premium for health benefits for all those who are employed full-time. State mandates, the pension bill that is due April 1st, to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that $1 million is eaten up literally in 4 categories: group insurance, pension, utilities, and what you'll hear later on, the garbage contract. That's going to be the biggest detriment in this budget this year.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'm here as a taxpayer. I don't know if you realized recently, I'm here in support of the police department, fire department. Recently, my truck got stolen.
Excuse me, what's your name, sir?
Vincent Carnavale, 225 East Homestead Avenue. I happen to be an employee of the borough, but I'm out on a medical disability. My truck got stolen about a month ago, and one of our detectives recovered it on his own time. I wanted to see if the mayor and council could do something to acknowledge it. That was Detective Michael McDermott. Also, while I'm at it, you talk about the budget. I noticed that the ambulance that serves the town is parked outside the ambulance corps. Did you ever think about selling the building?
Yeah,
Well, somebody, I mean.
no, I don't think that would be How you doing, Vin? Good to see you here.
Yeah.
So that building was built, so as you know, the ambulance service has been, third party, and it's done at
Yes.
Englewood Hospital. Through contracted service, and it is at little or no cost to the borough.
Why is it parked outside? What happens if
So
somebody
that-
steals it?
So the ambulance is not run by us, it's run by Englewood Hospital.
Right, I
Medical Center.
understand, yeah.
That building is to provide a shelter for those on-call individuals at the hospital. If they're to put the unit in the garage, that would be up to them. More than likely, they're in the building when it's parked outside. If it was to get stolen, that would be on the arms of the hospital employees.
Right. I understand, Dave, but what happens if somebody gets sick and there's no ambulance? My
so-
truck got stolen, they could steal the ambulance.
So the ambulance service is dispatched through what's called MyCom, and
Okay.
just because that ambulance is sitting there doesn't mean that there's not 8 others around. So if
Okay.
a call comes in, it's done on a screen, and the closest responding unit goes to that call. So even if that unit was in fact stolen, there would be another one that would take the place of it. It's not just one ambulance, and it's not just our ambulance anymore.
Okay, how about, I mean, I work for the Department of Public Works, there's 4 divisions. Did you guys ever consider consolidating the divisions? Maybe not like eliminating personnel, maybe, I mean, you have general services headed by a patrolman, maybe he'd be better off on the street. The parking meters, I know you guys have been going on and on and on. We could have saved the old parking meters. We could have not went to the county for dispatch, there was a different way to do it. The parking meters, I mean, people tell me in the street, why don't they have more parking meters? I go, I'm not in charge of it. I'm wondering why are we playing with a light in the front that's probably gonna cost us $100,000? Could that money be spent for something else?
Every option's on the table as far as performance and mergers consolidation. I don't know what light you're talking about specifically.
There's a funny looking light outside that I've been getting phone calls on. Why did I put it there? Because people know I work for the borough. I said, I had nothing to do with it.
All right, Benny, thank you. Point well taken, thank you. Yes,
Okay, my first question is, Mr. CFO mentioned about $114 increase, I guess?
On the municipal side, yes.
And he said exactly same thing at the last meeting. So the way that I take it, that there's nothing, no progress at all from the regarding budget, compared with the March number and April number. Is that right?
we had, yeah, close to $700,000 was cut,
$700,000?
almost.
Okay, then what is this 114? What is 114 about? 114, you mentioned 114.
You asked the question, right, I answered your question. What would be the tax increase today? $114.
Okay, so that's the same number that I heard at the March meeting.
It could have been, but we also reduced the budget.
The initial number was 123, because I still have it here.
Right.
From last month. The initial number was 123, not 114. And in the 114, we also took out.
Okay, let me check the recording.
All right.
I remember, I have another question, okay? You know, that gentleman just to say, I asked about 3 questions, and each question, somebody answered it. Is that the protocol now? You are changing the protocol now? That's great.
But ma'am, I was cut off anyway, that's not fair.
I think that's great.
What do you want to do? Do you want to answer all at the end, or do you want to answer them all? At the end, okay, that's fine.
Anyone else?
Bullshit, yeah, bullshit.
Yes.
Yeah, as a taxpayer, have you ever been reconsidering of our, salary of our employee? How are we doing it? Because it's a public record. So, and for, employee in here, we spend $600,000. So have we ever considered those illusory salary for save some money for the town? That is a very small town. Have we ever considering that?
Go ahead, yes.
Yeah, I want the answer, yeah, definitely.
One more quick question for CFO.
I wanna raise.
$114 that you're using as
Say the one.
Tax increase.
is that based on one assessed house? And what are we using as an example?
believe it's close to 500 with the rebound day.
It's a little over, it's, 648.
648.
So the average house that's assessed at 650,000 is
And
what
that's
we
the
did.
new rebound, that's why I didn't have that.
Better come out.
Should I get a motion to close the public portion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Second? Is there a second, Stephen? All in favor?
Just to address the question regarding salaries, almost every employee is under a contract.
I'm sorry.
Almost every employee in the borough is under some type of contract, whether it's an individual contract, there's a few individual contracts, and the overwhelming majority of employees are all part of a collective bargaining agreement negotiated by the union. So you can't just cut the salaries because they're under contract, you have to honor the contract. And a lot of employees have tenure. Once you have tenure, you can't reduce someone's salary, it's like the school system. Teachers' salaries, once they're hired and they have tenure or they're part of a contract, their salaries can't be reduced. So the only thing left would be layoffs, and most public entities are very reluctant to lay people off, take their jobs away. For a couple of reasons. One, because they feel they need them to provide the services to the residents of the community. And secondly, because most employees have families at home, and most public entities do not want to lay somebody off so that their family can't support themselves or, provide for their children. So it's very difficult to come up with a way to cut salaries
But do
other than,
we have a guideline of what position pay for how much?
yes,
And
all that
time?
information is
Because we
public.
have of employee who make their own contract as their own
Yes,
custom made.
there's a
So that's
contract.
very convenient for the employee.
Yes, it is, just as it is when you negotiate, especially, I know I'm comparing it to the teachers, but the unions always want a salary guide, which means there's steps, and every year they automatically get an increase. And employers try not to do that, but that's a common practice to have what they call salary guides, like our police department has a salary guide. And a few years ago, we were able to negotiate to expand the salary guide, which meant that the increases would be spread out over more years than fewer years.
For example, we compare it with our salaries with Forley, for example, there is a town who have a
Forley-
lot of money.
Yes.
Or clerk they get paid, how much they get paid compared to us that we don't have money, that
All-
we've been
all
not having
town-
anything here to do
all
the things that
towns-
we need.
All towns are different, but I would venture to say that I'm sure Fort Lee has employees that are making more money here. We
Well, they have
probably
more money than us, they
And
make
we have
money.
more, and we probably are,
They can do that.
depending
not
upon
even-
the town. Most communities in Bergen County, because the standard of living in Bergen County is very high, because the property taxes are very high, most employees that work in Bergen County are on the higher side compared to the rest of the state.
So how are we gonna save money if we're throwing money like that? It's not make
They
sense.
came up with a $700,000 savings from the last meeting we had, so there are ways
No
that they.
community
so-
centers, nothing for the children here, but we have money to pay a very illusory salary for a few employees here. And more employees coming on and on and on.
Yeah.
That we don't need it.
I think, as he said, we cannot lay people off, or we cannot, because, we need employees from town, and we need workers. And, when time is very difficult, there are some ways that we can still save, is like, couple years or certain years, we cannot give a raise, but, we are like, everybody's sharing the difficult time together. Something like that might happen, so, as he said, all our employees have families to feed, and it is, should be very, very deeply considerate, but there is always a way, so we can probably, give a 0-point increase for a couple years or something like that, might happen, when the time is really, really difficult, right? Thank you.
That's it, there's no vote tonight.
Yeah, no vote on it.
But you need a motion, we already voted?
We already closed.
Okay.
Okay, moving on, adoption of previous month's minutes, we have two sets of minutes, consent agenda items 120 through 136, off consent, 137, second reading, public hearing, two ordinances. Does anybody have any questions on the consent or off consent?
All right, I have a question with the 133. Can because last time, I was sitting here, and when we passed that $7.9 million, you clearly said it's including everything, right?
Right.
Even tips and, you know, all of these things. And, it's, another 2.67,
Recycling.
you said recycling was in that
If
too.
you read the resolution correctly,
Right.
it's $11 million for everything. It's 7.9 million for solid waste, and then 3.1 for recycling. So if you add them both together, that's your cumulative number.
So 114 that we got last time,
Well, that resolution, there was a miscommunication with my office, and that's why it's revised.
So
So
that's
that
why
number
we
was not
revised.
correct.
Right.
So the number from the last meeting was not correct, that's why we have the resolution on tonight
Very
to
well.
reflect the correct number of the award of the contract. So
and then
last
if I
meeting's number was.
recall, if that was a mistake
Yeah.
that we passed, right?
Right.
If I recall, we only had 2 companies, right?
That's
to
all it
bid.
did.
Yes.
So,
We had two, and we took the cheaper, of course, we took the cheaper.
but this is way more than I expected, like
It's-
$11
it's
million
way-
for
yes.
5 years.
Yeah.
It's
and
across the
So collecting
state.
garbage
It's
and
across the state.
recycling,
We bid it 3 times.
$11 million for 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's a significant increase
Yep.
compared to the past, absolutely. But that's across the state.
And it was publicly bidded 3 times, those are the only people who bid. If there's another option that you'd like to weigh, I don't know what it would be, but it was publicly bid 3 times, and those are the only 2 people who bid.
It's not just isolated to us.
No, no.
It's throughout the whole.
Systemic throughout the whole country.
Including in public buildings,
Yes, yeah,
high
private stuff,
rises and
private
private
stuff,
stuff, it's gotten so expensive, it's ridiculous.
All right, so.
That was one of the biggest impacts on the budget.
Right, so as I understand, if the residents of the town understands as well, I will have no problem. But if you think about it, I already thought $8 million for 5 years is too much. But now it's $11 million, so, you know, I was very concerned.
It is too much.
It's way too much. There's no other option.
Right.
I don't know what the other option is. I happen to
Right,
agree
that's what
with
you
you.
said, so, fine. And,
This is what it is.
yeah, that's all.
Yes.
Was, are we doing anything with the parking ordinance, or?
I think that's, something that Mr. Parks can address.
Okay, but it's not on the agenda,
Right.
so we're not gonna address the parking.
Well, I don't think that should be here today.
There's a couple items that I wanna add on to it, to all off consent. Okay, the first one is, I'm gonna open it up for discussion, so that we can all vote on it. I'd like to ask the mayor and council to vote on, removing, Councilman Vitry from the police committee. The reason being is that he was named as one of the main persons in the lawsuit, and in order for us to be objective in the lawsuit, I felt as though he needs to be removed from the police committee. So I would like to open it up for the discussion. Does anybody have any question to say?
So there is, some kind of issue with, Councilman Vitry, with some kind of lawsuit? Cause I'm blindsided, what
Yes.
happened?
I don't know if you've got a copy of the,
Sorry.
Councilman Vitry is not a named
Right.
defendant, he's mentioned, I should say, in the lawsuit by one of the police officers who filed, or 1 or 2, there's actually maybe 2 police officers who are alleging that some of the decisions or some of the involvement of Officer Vitry was prejudicial to them. That's a summary of the complaint, which is a public record, but he's not a named defendant. He's not, you know, the Borough of Palisade Park is the defendant. He's mentioned in the complaint as being the cause of why the allegations are being made. Of course, we're denying them.
I'm so sorry to say that, but since, if I'm getting involved with, any kind of a lawsuit and serving that same, committee, that will be very uncomfortable and even, try to protect himself. I think we should, consider, you know, him coming out from that committee.
Stephanie, are you in that committee?
No, I don't.
no, she's not.
He's only in one.
Who's in the committee right now? It's very funny.
It was 2 people, Mr. Park and, Councilman Vitry.
How about all these other people who are named in different suits? What happened to
Well, we're
that?
talking about this particular one right
Okay,
now,
so
so
weren't you named in one of your suits?
it wasn't this one.
Okay, so when they name you in a suit, we're gonna take you down as mayor?
Whatever you said.
There is a
Up for
suit
discussion.
against the mayor?
No, there isn't.
No, but we are talking about is very reasonable thing, I believe. It's not really personal or attacking someone, it is not like that, but, to have every committee to, function as it should be, and protected ourselves.
And
That's
if
one
that's
of
the
the reasons
case,
for, if you.
What's that?
who's gonna be, if we're gonna vote on, whoever gonna replace, Councilman Vichy?
Listen, he's not being removed, he's
No, you-
temporarily being taken out.
I
So
understand
now-
that, no, why
It's
reason,
not taken out.
reason to raise your voice?
Temporarily, until the lawsuit is
So
settled.
there's only one, Mr. Park on the committee, that's it?
And I'm also part of,
You're always
Yes.
part of the committee, correct?
Yes. Yep.
But, so Mr. Park is gonna, Councilman Park's
We
gonna
will
handle.
leave it vacant.
Well, hold on, let me,
Why not put it
I don't
as
like
different?
it.
okay,
So-
you don't have to like it.
so, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Scatino, the entire governing body serves as the appropriate authority.
Yes.
I think, given what's going on with the police department, whatever that may be, I think the entire governing body, as the appropriate authority, may wanna contribute as a whole in any of the decision making at this point.
That's a good idea.
Rather than narrow it down to one or two people who may not have, with the removal of Mr. Vitry, who may not have enough
I
opinion.
think that's very.
I think
That's a
collectively,
good idea.
it may be appropriate, under the direction of yourself, and please, I'm not looking for any response to police department, but I think that may be appropriate at this time. Everybody. the
Yes,
entire-
that's, the borough administrator is correct, the full governing body is considered the appropriate authority with respect to the police department, that decision was made a couple of years ago. And you could still, to the mayor's point, you could still have the committee, if the council decides to temporarily remove Councilman Vitry from the committee would consist of Mr. Park, and as, Councilman Kim pointed out, the mayor is part of every committee, so the committee would have two people, but it would be the full governing body that could discuss it, if that's what the governing body decides, or you could have the committee get information together to present to the governing body. It's all how you wish to operate.
And I think at this point, that I think there are some serious decisions that need to be made there, personnel, through direction and everything else. I don't know that any one or two people may have that, so if it's something that maybe Mike can't vote on, or Cindy can't vote on, or Stephanie can't vote on, okay, fine, then you'd have to go back and tell everybody anyway. If you're all part of it, I think you could probably make a more informative decision.
I can make a motion for that.
All right, any motions have to wait till the regular
Yeah, I
meeting?
Yeah, so we'll add it onto the off consent.
So that's one
You're gonna have to work, because
thirty-seven?
I don't remember.
Is that 137?
Yeah.
That would be 138.
138.
And what would the title of that resolution be?
Resolution regarding police committee, and appropriate authority.
Alright, a few items. So next item I'd like to discuss, leave it open for discussion, will be also to authorize business administrator to advertise for police director. Since we've eliminated 3 advisory positions, I thought it was necessary for us to appoint somebody, advertise for police director.
Director or consultant?
Director. Somebody with 20+ years of experience.
Okay, so as far as the credentials, you wanna go over that together, we can go over it next time? And that's just what I need to know what credentials you're
Sure.
looking for.
139?
Yeah, that would be 139. I have, in order to better improve our communications within our borough and the various departments, I've created a little form. I just wanted to make sure that if we're all in agreement. This is a simple form that I created. It's called a weekly status report. If, I would like to distribute this to the various departments in the borough and discuss current activities that are taking place, activities, the next in action and due dates, and some of the achievements and immediate action that is necessary to address. So I think it's very crucial for our mayor and council to be aware of situations that are going on in various departments. That's the reason for this. So,
Make one suggestion.
yes.
To give this to them is great as a template, but I would leave it up to each department head to just make sure they cover all this, whether they write it in a report form,
Correct.
bullet form, they don't have to fill out.
No,
But
this was
should
just
be
a
the template,
guideline.
right?
This is
The
just a guideline
okay.
as to, just to dictate what certain items should be covered.
Okay.
For each individual department.
Yes.
And that's good.
This will be disseminated through email so you can all have it? Or is it gonna be in paper format?
Again, if we're gonna leave it up to each department to come up with their own format.
No,
Easy
I'm
to
talking
get
about
done.
communicate through the email or through your format that you.
Oh, no, the email's fine. Yeah, we all have our emails.
Why don't we
That
do
goes
this, why
fine.
not I disseminate it to each department and then have them, provide it back to me, the week prior to the meeting
No, each Friday, they should be submitting,
to you.
no, to the mayor and council, or to
Each
you,
Friday.
then you can
And then
disseminate
I'll
it to all of
put
us.
them in folders and.
Yeah. So,
Also ask one question. I believe that we should probably discuss here or not, but, since there were many problems in buildings, I was thinking that we need to have someone to take care of our property, you know, the borough property, the building, the control, or actually going around and checking if everything's okay. Because recently we had mold problems, asbestos, and, you know, a lot of leakage here and there, and then I just wish, because I sent a letter, I asked a question to BA, said, who will be responsible when we have a problems in our buildings, mold and all these, like, urgent matters, you know, it's like a urgent matter, but we have to give email back and forth, and 1 week is passing, or sometimes 10 days are passing. And it is really, really serious condition for our employees working in each building. So I think we should find someone or some way that, someone should be responsible to go around, check, you know, every corner of the buildings are okay, at least.
Is it buildings and grounds in charge of that?
So,
I don't know, you know, he said, no, one person is in charge,
so let, if you wanna answer, so, we have people who work in the buildings who do the maintenance.
Yes.
The conditions that were uncovered weren't conditions that are normal conditions.
Mhm.
There's no way that no one would have known where there was mold or asbestos until something was opened up, right? It's an old building, any old building has, more than likely has asbestos in it.
That's why I wanna have one person going around at least once a month, check each corner.
Well, we know there's asbestos and mold in the building. Now, we could have a company come in, but you have to be certified and licensed for that. They already started. Immediately as soon as we found and got the report,
Very good.
we did it.
And
right?
all these problems are taken care
Oh,
of.
no, but they're being addressed.
They're
So we have a company who came in, did an assessment as to what has to be done immediately. Tomorrow, there'll be another company coming in doing air quality tests and
Right.
remediation, and then we'll put it all together, and you guys will find out what it costs. To have somebody come in on a regular basis would be these people now coming back to follow up. Up
Very
until this point, we have an old building, we have a leaky roof, we have old conditions, and stuff happens, but to actually get up and behind the ceiling and look and find stuff like that, we wouldn't know anybody here, even if it was a full-time person, wouldn't know what they were looking for unless they were a licensed asbestos person, a licensed remediation person, or there was a major problem, which in the case of the mold, we had a leak in the basement of the locker room of the police department, and that's when they uncovered.
Sure, but
Right.
can we at least appoint one person, just
Yeah,
don't do
sure.
anything, but just eye check?
Sure. I
If
mean, you know,
everywhere is okay.
And more than likely, we'll find stuff, and more than likely, we won't find stuff. I mean, until something bad
I
happens.
personally thought you even have to do it.
Well, I don't have any problem doing it, but I'm not an asbestos guy, so I wouldn't even know what I'm looking at.
Don't touch anything,
No,
just
no.
open and check.
I don't have a
That's
problem.
adding another salary. Why do we need to do that? No, Stephanie, I don't agree with you there. That's adding another salary.
No, I'm just
Already
joking,
understand.
I'm sorry, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I was just joking.
So what you want
Of
money
course,
for?
it's not his job at all.
I have a couple more. That's 140, right?
That was 140.
So the next one is,
Weekly status report,
Yeah.
we're adopting this
No.
form officially?
140 was weekly status report.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're
Weekly
gonna adopt
status
this form
yeah.
officially?
Yeah.
Okay.
The next item that I have that I would like to add to the plan is, in the light of Comptroller's report and also working with the budget, I'd like to propose to eliminate any take-home vehicles, borrowed vehicles home. Except for, take-home vehicles should be only limited to the following. OEM chief, fire department, chief of police or officer in charge, or department supervisors who resides in Palisades Park that have been issued a vehicle for borough use. the borough vehicles will be available for usage while they're, if they needed the vehicles while they're on the clock. So the vehicles will be available for the use while they're here. But in order for travel back and forth, it has to be with their personal vehicles. And it's unfair that, now with the gas prices over $4 per gallon, I think it's necessary for us to strap down on it. And also, you know, there's insurance liabilities. And, I looked at the statistics of number of responses that we've, responded to versus number of days times the mileage and all that, and it just didn't make sense. So I'm proposing that, we do away with, take-home vehicles unless, they're residing in, Palisades Park.
I do have a question on that.
Yes.
So if they are called to an
Yes.
emergency,
Yes.
are they able to submit to be reimbursed?
Of course.
or-
Yes.
They would be entitled to
Mileage and
reimbursement.
gas price, they're all be reimbursed if they use their, personal vehicles, yes. So that'll be
Is that it?
141. No, I have a couple more.
141?
Yes. I've been receiving, there were many requests have been made to, by the public to change our mayor and council's meeting time. So I'd like to propose to see if we could move the time, to either 6:30 or 7 o'clock. And also, I don't know how the availability is, but, everyone's available, we'll keep it the same fourth week, I'm sorry. Either Monday or Thursday, I'm proposing that change, so if anybody wants to discuss about that.
You wanna change it from Tuesday?
Monday or Thursday, so Monday.
Is there a conflict of usage of
Monday
this?
would be Court of Adjustment.
Court of Adjustment.
Thursday is court. If
That's
it's
why we
still
made it
live
Tuesday,
court, right?
Chris.
I think
because we
Tuesday's
couldn't-
fine.
The other days we do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wednesday is planning board on that fourth.
That's right.
Right, so Monday is Court of
What
Adjustment,
time?
Thursday is
7?
court, and Wednesday's
What,
planning.
6:30 for
Yeah,
workshop,
but
7?
I agree with the mayor that 7 o'clock will be beneficial for the public, is that correct?
Can we, because later on in Tuesday is a conflict for me. So can we ask the Board of Adjustment to move on, to Tuesday?
Switch.
Tuesday?
Third.
No, no, no.
They're the third Monday.
What adjustment is?
They're the third
Third.
Monday.
Third.
Oh,
They're
so
the
the
third
fourth, so
Monday.
the fourth Monday would be good for
Will be
me.
ideal.
Monday, yeah.
Monday.
Fourth Monday?
Yeah, fourth
Fourth
Monday
Monday,
at
hold on, let
7
me
p.m.
take a look at that.
Because 7 p.m. is the open?
Right, that would have been yesterday, right? So that would have been, so there may be a conflict when that happens, like in May. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Every once in a while, the Board of Adjustment, when there's a holiday,
No, if we do the fourth, I think we're okay.
fourth Monday, we'll recheck, and make
We'll
sure
recheck.
there's no.
And what's the workshop at
Yeah,
6:30, open at 7?
if it's the
Right.
fourth, I think we're okay, fourth Monday.
So workshop at 6:30 and the regular meeting at, 7
7 p.m.
You need a vote on that.
Yes.
So that has to be voted on. And Gina, if they approve that, you gotta
That's
send it.
What is that? No. 142.
Okay. So, can we just keep it the same, workshop, the work session at 6:30, and the regular meeting, so we can just separate
Yes.
it to Tuesday.
So it's gonna be.
Fourth Monday at 6:30.
Correct.
Okay.
142.
142.
Wait, so we can't do it Tuesday, 7 p.m.? There's a conflict?
No, it's on my concept.
I have a conflict on that.
Fourth Monday.
Next one I'd like to open up for discussion was, considering accepting credit cards for daily passes at the swimming pool. This one, I don't know, I don't think we need to vote on it, but I would just like for us to do some cost analysis and look at some fees comparisons and to see if it's feasible to do that or not, so we can report it next month.
You will have, eventually you would have to vote, because you'd have to authorize a specific company. I know some towns are doing that with tax, property tax.
Okay.
And the cost, though, I think is passed on to the resident.
Right, if I wanna use my credit card, I have to pay the fee.
You have to
Right,
pay the 2%, 4%,
And on property
whatever.
taxes, they cap it at a certain amount.
right.
Are we able to research that without a vote?
Yeah, we.
Yes, you can research it without a vote, I'm just
So
saying, but
I'll
when
work,
it's,
do
I
research
will work
first.
with Karen to research.
Yeah, let's just research first before we vote on that.
Mastercard, we have to go with the one that's the least.
Mike, actually, Cindy, you could talk to Mike, because I know Fairview, they don't have a pool, but they do it for the taxes, so he can give you the name.
Yeah, so I wanted to respond to Nearest as well. The problem with credit cards is the merchant services fees. In the pool, we did it a while back ago.
Mike, it's no problem, we'll pass it right along to people using credit cards.
Well, it was
If you ever seen
it was
it,
very
it
expensive.
can be quite expensive, just to let you know.
So, in other words, if somebody wants to come in and use a credit card at the pool, and it's a 4% fee, they have to pay the 4%.
Yeah, the merchant services, that seems to be.
You don't have to vote to research, you're gonna have to vote, though, if you decide to go ahead, you're gonna have to vote to approve the credit card company.
If that's okay with you, Chris, I'll work with Karen on it, get all the information, try to find the best,
Thank you.
percentage, and then get back to everybody before the next meeting.
All right,
Before
thank you very
Memorial
much.
Day.
Right, the card with the first card and otherwise cash.
Okay. Then, I have a couple more, I'm sorry, but, sick time payouts. I know we, identified the, employees, and I know the attorneys have sent out the, notices to each of them, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so, instead of recovering the monies that was sent, paid out, I would like to open it up for everybody to discuss how we're gonna, whether we're gonna take the approach of recovering, and how we're gonna recoup the money. So, anybody have any input in regards to that?
Probably we have to ask for, those people who owes money, and, I wish we could give them, choices, they can, pay like,
Could you please speak up a little louder?
yeah, okay, someone who has to pay back the money for the sick day pay they already got, because by the, controller's office report, it says it was not legal thing to do, so they'll have to pay the town money back. And we are going to discuss about what will be the best way for our employees to don't feel too burdened to return the money back. For me, I think we could probably ask, employees who will owe the money to the town, like, some percentage from their paycheck in the future,
Well, I have a question on that, so.
or.
We were gonna tell the employees that the comptroller's report said that the town made a mistake.
Mhm,
And now they have to have the burden
mhm,
of paying back.
mhm.
I think that's something everybody needs to think about, cause there's a certain difficulty in to myself, that it's a little bit unfair to some of the people some people in this day and age especially, and I'm not talking about any one particular person or myself, but people live paycheck to paycheck. And something that's gone on for several years, where in fact, I think everyone was responsible because the township allowed it. I feel like then they are put in a position and are punished and now have to pay that money back. It might be a tremendous burden for some of them. I don't know. I couldn't even tell you the names at this point. I'm sure we have a list. I mean, it just
Well,
for me, that's a
we can't discuss,
consideration.
we cannot discuss any names
Yeah.
tonight,
Right.
because they didn't, they
So
didn't
that's
give
just,
a.
that's
I don't
just
mind
how I
if-
personally feel. I just wanna be clear about,
Yeah,
that's
I
my own
understand. I
personal
understand.
opinion, if you know where I'm coming from,
But,
right?
not everybody got the money, if it was everybody received the money.
Well, no, actually, Joe, just to be clear,
it is not-
almost everybody did receive money, but when the statute was passed, it had a cutoff. So a lot of people received money and they're entitled to that money, and and the way the statute is written, they're allowed to continue to collect that money if they choose that option. And then there were a few people, very few, that they came after the statute came in effect. So it's not that people weren't getting it. Everybody pretty much was participating, and they were allowed to. They were allowed to participate. It was only a handful of employees.
But by law, the.
By
New
law, the
Jersey
handful, it's only a
No,
handful by
but
law.
what does New Jersey law says? Is it law?
It says if you were hired, if you're, other than a municipal officer, if you were hired after 2010, you're not entitled to it. If you were hired before 2010, you're allowed to do it. If you're a municipal officer,
Right, but then.
now
you don't-
then it's 2007.
Right.
So I just wanna make sure, it's not that the employees who were getting it, they were all not entitled to it. The overwhelming majority were entitled to it. It's only a few people that were not entitled to it. I just don't want there to be a misconception.
And the other.
And that's why it actually continued, because everybody, and it continues to be entitled to it, And, the directive, when it was issued back in 2008 or whatever, it wasn't clear enough because many towns were still doing it even after
But
that.
in the law standpoint, if it is not legal,
Now it's
it is
not legal
not,
for a
right?
handful, yes.
But the special counsel advised us all in a closed meeting that it
Well,
is
don't discuss in a closed meeting.
what about the law not being that we make the decision whether? it's-
Yes, the decision is up to the governing body, how you wish to pursue, or if you wish to pursue, recouping the money. For example, there was one employee, and I'm not gonna say any names, they only got $500. I don't wanna say only, but they got $500. So you gotta make a decision, is it gonna be cost effective to
Right,
pursue?
someone who-
We asked though, don't get me wrong, with letters, as the mayor said, letters have gone out to the employees who did receive it, saying that the borough's position that we're entitled to reimbursement. So now the next step, which I think, you know, you gotta give a lot of thought to, I agree with Councilman Pereira, is how vigorously you wanna pursue it if they don't cooperate. We're hoping that they're going to cooperate, to
That's
your
what I was
point.
thinking too, what
And-
if someone got it and already like, quit the job, so no longer here?
Right.
What can we do?
The only option would be if they don't voluntarily
Right,
do it, you'd have to sue
But
them.
if you think
Might
about
cost
it,
us
if
more
I'm
than
the
it is.
one who didn't get the money, right, if I'm the one who never received any money.
Right.
You know, from my point of view, it will be very unfair, right? Because you got the money, something that you were not supposed to get, you got it.
Right.
But, you know, I was working in the town as well, but because I was not, qualified or back then,
Right.
I didn't receive any money.
Right.
So my point of view, it will be very unfair if we just don't do anything for
But Steph-
those.
Can I say something,
Yes,
guys?
yes,
This is
yes,
all
please.
legalities, I'm sure John agrees.
I would.
The thing is this, let me just finish this, right? I listened to all you guys.
Sure.
If we made the mistake, and we went through this corrective action, all of us said, let's do it.
Right.
There's certain things that we don't think that it's like a can of worms, if you open it up, it'll cost the borough more taxpayers' money. For example, we made the contract by accident, not just our town, other towns did it as well. We're rectifying the situation as we speak, but that contract was signed, was prepared by us and given to the employees signed it. That's a contract still. The only way, like John said, that is we have to take him to court. It will cost us more taxpayers' money to take him to court and force him to pay that, which it won't work. John, what is the legality
That's
of
what
it?
I'm saying.
Well, no,
Someone-
it will be court, you have to weigh, and I think this is a discussion, what I was going to say, but whatever, the comments you just made were fine to be made, but I think that this should be a closed session discussion.
I see.
Because I think you're going to,
Yeah.
I think we need to bring the special counsel back, so you can get legal advice as to what the cost potentially could be, the legal cost, what the likelihood of success would be. I think you should, I can contact him, you tell me when you want to come in, and you need to have that discussion. And we're going to have to rice the employees, not that they can participate, because it's a legal advice, but they should be notified that the discussion is taking place. So let's not create, we have enough litigation in this town, let's not create any more.
So we'll table that.
Table. Okay.
But do you want me to have the attorney come for our next meeting?
I think we should get the details on it, because I think it's gonna cost us more money trying to get.
Then I'll notify you for our next meeting, and you may have to start at 6 for that meeting. I don't think- But that will be closed session, so you're gonna have to.
Yeah,
close
six.
session.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's fine, we can come a half an hour early to meet. So do you think a half an hour?
Okay. So
143,
we're gonna table, right?
143.
Yeah, it's not added.
It's not added, it was just a discussion.
Oh, that's
It's
good.
just
That's
discussion.
good. I'm just gonna go out for a
One-
pause.
So we're up to
Actually, you're right.
143,
You're right.
now we're on the next one.
Yeah, 143 is not, yeah, no resolution.
No, we're just gonna vote for an analysis.
The 144 is table.
So, no, I have one more, actually two more, but alcohol sales. In our town, recently, we've been seeing many, residents or a lot of drunken people out in the street from morning hours to late in the evening hours. In order to combat that, I think if we reduce the, alcohol sales hours to 12 o'clock I think that could potentially, eliminate some of the, early morning drunks out on the street. So I'd like to propose to, allow alcohol sales to 12 o'clock, starting at 12 o'clock. ABC says 9 o'clock, 9 AM for hard liquor, and,
On Sunday?
yes, 12 o'clock on Sundays.
Aren't we governed by the ABC too?
We can't, but the municipality has the right to set the hours.
Yeah, you have to have this, yeah. But we have to do that by ordinance.
Yeah, we have to run this change now, right?
Yes.
It's very inconvenient for me, guys, it's very inconvenient that, you know, 1 or 2, 3 off consent agenda coming out. But we got 8 agendas that came out that we're not aware of. I wish that next time we could just talk this
That's why
inside.
this is open discussion. I'm leaving it open. You're not saying
No,
anything.
this is-
You got something to say, say it.
That's what I'm saying, this is
Okay.
very confusing right now, because there's so many coming in right now. We don't even share the ABC, we have to verify.
No, you can set the hours.
I already verified that.
But I just, you know, the council's gonna have to vote to authorize the time.
Change of times, yes.
Yes. I mean, we'll get up and burn that, but it's busy. Was that?
Can we introduce it as an ordinance today?
Well, I don't know if they're ready.
No,
Maybe
no,
we'll have to
verify.
verify.
I want
Okay,
verification
we have to
before you
verify,
leave
and then
here.
are you okay with introducing it?
Yeah, that's been, just initiating it.
So table, right?
It's gonna be an ordinance today.
Excuse me?
It's gonna be an ordinance today. That's gonna look into it. So all of you will work.
Ordinance for next month, right?
Yes.
That was 145.
No, we still have 143.
143.
Mr. Mayor,
No, it's not open to the public.
qualification as a chamber of commerce, we just also.
Sure.
It's not,
Okay,
wait till the
not
end.
allowed, right?
And, one other, last one I have is the residence parking ordinance that I know, Mr. Park, you were working on with Andy, Councilman Andy Min. What are your findings? Do you have any progress with that?
Yeah, ultimately, what I find is, we have done many long discussions and reviews. I still have some suggestions too, but, as a consequences, it was, ultimately decided from my findings, our findings, that go back to the older parking system was most suitable for all. That means in the older system before, we mostly had stickers and visitor tags, something like that. That doesn't create much problem. Then we are reviewing and starting a feasible way, but that's what we found as of now. Just go back to the the past system in the past.
Wait a minute, so we wasted all this resolutions to decide on this, we should have prepared to not make these kind of mistakes. How many times we go back and forth about this resolution? Now you're saying that.
What input have you had in that?
What
inputs have you had in that decision?
I'm talking right now, and please do not interrupt. My
Bad
point is this,
management. No.
we should have,
Ridiculous.
I have the
Bad
right
management,
to
you're
talk
right.
because I was
Ridiculous.
elected by the
Yes, right,
people,
Mayor.
right? So let me speak, Mayor. My point is this, why are we making a mess out of this? This should have happened before a resolution that came. After resolutions came, we flipped them back, delay, this is the problem. They elected us to make a decision, the right decision for the public. We can't be doing this continuously, all right?
Point well taken. You know, in light of that, I
What about our
propose- put it
refunds?
up for vote. I would like to recommend to the council board to do away with it, rather than extending another month, another 2 months. I think we should do away with it, go back to the old, until we could come up with a better program that would connect with this. No, just, I think, hanging tags, I think he's talking about.
Those stickers, whatever.
For now, yes.
What?
Is that what you're proposing?
That either, man.
Yeah, that was my
You gonna make everybody re-register?
Why did I send it to you?
It's not a matter of registration, it's just.
What is it?
We do away with the programs that we've been working on, is that right, Mr. Park?
Yeah.
Okay,
What program that we were working on, I'm assuming that's.
That's
what
our
you're talking about.
conclusion, what am I going
We
to
haven't
do something else?
That
were
was
asking
the
Andy, I
issue.
asked him.
Guys, the reason we did this is to control, to create space for our residents.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so let's finish this.
We did not have a problem with that.
No, we.
We are having problems right now because we have to decide.
We can manage.
That's why we created it. We do a parking all over the place.
Alright, so that's my recommendation, guys.
Just for the record, I
Leaving
don't
it
know, what are
open.
we doing? I have no idea.
So,
I'm confused.
Mr. Park, you're proposing that, going back to the old ways, meaning what, the, hanging,
Yeah, hanging
And-
tags,
and
yeah,
issuing
and
the,
stickers on it,
decals.
and then we don't create a guest application, guest parking, and, how many, you know, it's too much hassle. We cannot set any, the point of, fee, that $20 is fine, $10, because I don't see, I checked all the documents, but there was no document how much we pay to IPS, which is the program running company. I don't see that contract, so what can I do?
Why after the resolution is this happening? I don't understand it. Why can't we
Mr.
do
Park, you think you
research?
could come up with a program for next month, or soon after?
Yeah, I can come up.
Alright. So I'll retract that and, give you the notice
I know everybody out there is talking, but it's really gonna count. So what I remember from when we started it, and I don't.
I cannot believe it either,
Okay, hold on.
but I cannot find how much we should charge, I mean, we should, put the money for the registration. There's no appropriate documentation for that, that's what
Make
I'm
a
saying.
decision.
What did it cost to do all of the paperwork with the lawyer? Just
Well, hold
I'm
on.
checking, but it was not available.
Ladies and gentlemen,
That's-
hold
that's
on,
my
there's one
finding.
meeting over here. Council.
Okay, I just would like to suggest, when we started it, and it was myself and Master Lee and maybe one other person, we had I think you, Chris, you might have been there. It was very productive meetings in the sense we had the traffic people who run the traffic and ourselves, and we really were discussing, looking at the contracts, we should be looking at the contract and
Yes, I
figuring out
do.
all the and I don't see those kind of productive meetings. I haven't seen it, and maybe I'm wrong, correct me.
No, you're not.
If they've happened, then
I don't know.
I'm
I
wrong.
don't know.
And I think maybe we need to go back to that. Besides Mr. Park, who's on the parking committee?
Who's in?
Andy.
And, okay. I'm more than happy to volunteer to get involved again in it. I'd really like to see one of those meetings set up, Dave, along with your office organizing it with the police department and the traffic officers, and then having a real proposal for the next meeting, with all the suggestions that have already happened, all of the things that people are unhappy with, and maybe sit down and really come up with a compromise. You know, everybody here who's, you know, in political mode and arguing, the one thing I do know from the perspective of business or this council, you do have to compromise. Everything is not gonna be one way or the other. So somewhere along the line, someone is not gonna be totally 100% happy with something. So I think at this point, it would be really smart, instead of losing and bleeding money every single month, because we did start this meeting off, even though I wasn't here at the very beginning, all about the dollars, and how the town is bleeding and what it costs us. Well, that's great. So let's get an effective way to bring in a revenue stream that we had prior to this, without bickering here at this meeting, and doing something productive. That's my recommendation, Mayor. I'm willing to step up if that's good with Mr. Park and Mr. Mid and the DA and yourself. And then let me know, and maybe Rob, I don't know if you're still doing all that traffic stuff, maybe we can set up a meeting and really put all of our heads together and see if what we've come up with so far can be tweaked enough for everyone to agree to disagree, I guess. We're going to have to, otherwise we're just gonna keep bleeding.
So, my understanding that you want to extend for another month until
I
it comes
think we
to the
should
better.
come up with a
Okay,
plan.
that's fine, thank you.
I hope the people don't mistake that we're not trying to create revenue. This wasn't the whole purpose. We wanted to create extra, additional parking spaces for the street residents. This is off tangent right now, okay? We can't make a decision, but anyways, I'm with that. Cindy, let's see what happens.
We respect the
Yeah.
J
Yeah,
Parks
extension
and the
of another
Indians
month
community.
till-
They spend the year They spend already just more time. There's one solution and go back to the origin. Now, I respect, you just made a special committee.
Sir, it's not your turn yet, hold on, please. Can I have a motion to open to the public at this time, please?
I make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, go ahead.
Susan Brown, is this open on anything?
Right now, yes.
We're
Yeah.
special.
Yes.
And was that last item on the agenda as 144?
No, we stopped at 142.
The other items that we discussed, right?
One forty-two was.
Okay, so
No.
it's already, he said you didn't need to vote. Yes, so we ended at 142.
Because we don't understand.
We're just going to be,
Changing the time of
Yes.
the meeting,
yeah,
Time for the meeting.
and that's it?
and that's it.
Okay. Okay, my concern is, we're going back to budget
Yep.
a little bit. What Councilman Vitri said with regard to funds for the police department. I've called, they showed up, we have no problems, I'm concerned that they have sufficient money. My concern is if we're crunching on their budget with cannabis, and everything that entails, how is our department going to be affected? Because you probably have to institute a new way of detecting for it when someone's driving. Recreational cannabis and how it's handled, that's gonna cost money. That's my first part. The second part of the question is, you had 3 consultants in the police department and apparently did away with them, didn't work. So why would a director come in, and what difference would that make? What's the difference? Police department, and that's going to add another salary that will be constant versus the 150,000 we just eliminated for the 3 consultants. That's it.
We're gonna hold up.
Yes, yes.
I gotta wait, I'm getting old here.
Marcia?
Marcia Shore, with the parking, your new plan was very good, I didn't see a problem. That way you were able to identify illegal tenants, people that don't belong here, the town would get money, which we seem to be in dire need of. The old plan, they had an illegal tenant, they stuck a visitor's pass on, the police couldn't do anything. Here at least, we can control that situation. Do you realize how many tenants, illegal tenants, are parked on our streets? Just across the street from us. They're in these small
Yes.
My name is Yeomin Jung, 50 East Tulsi Boulevard. I work at 216 Broad Avenue, near the municipal parking lot, and I just have witnessed, at least once a day or just once or 2 days, I see the ambulance because of the daytime, some of the people are drunk. And like Holy Name Hospital and also Inglewood Hospital, they just come in and you check it out and take them. And also I saw that like a municipal, like the parking meter. There is like a sign, municipal parking lot, and behind that, some person was like in a pink, and child and mother will try to just get the ticket. And I was so confused. I took the photo from the second floor. So I know that is everyday problem. Some of the people daytime they drunk. I believe probably, municipal authority can do something, but also church or like humanitarian organization, they can do something because they are hungry, and I believe so, because there is a, like a liquor market next to it, municipal parking out there 216, and they come and they buy a beer, right? But as I heard, because I did a ministry to give out like the bagels and a lot of things to them for more than 4 years. And they're hungry and they want to drink, because to forget about it, like hunger. So like not municipal authority to control about the, like time of the open up the selling liquor according to the law, that's also, good idea. But like we can do something about Chamber of Commerce, or like Palisades Park Korean American Association, or any humanitarian or church organization do something about people who drunker during the daytime. That is my number one. And also Chamber of Commerce, like revitalization of the Broad Avenue, like small business, like council members and mayor, please later you have to be consider and take a deep consideration and make decision about selling limit the hour. We just during the pandemic, we want like deregulation. That's number one. And number two, I want to just very short, like Jay Park, Councilman Jay Park and Andy Min, they spend a lot of time. But even last year, July, somebody proposed about new system of the parking system because of safety, not like creating an extra revenue. Then just like a back and forth, that's true. But their conclusion, I respect. They think just go back to the origins. There is a time to you just give a ticket on authorized vehicle. So we want to go back and our resident can handle that matter.
Anybody else, please?
Yes. Robert Vito, 67 Jackson Avenue, Rockaway, New Jersey. I'd just like to say that history seems to be repeating itself in Palisades Park. Once again, during election season, after doing one thing to help one councilman, it seems that a mayor of Palisades Park is once again harassing the gay employee and retaliating against them for doing his job and helping the borough. Thank you. Have a nice night.
I hope that's all right.
From your actions tonight.
The point is, we get another lawsuit if we don't be careful.
Yeah,
Okay.
My lawyer.
There's.
Mary Papote for 4 Glen Avenue. I have a question for the Council of Minutes, excluding Stephanie Jan. I'm gonna exclude Stephanie Jan because she wasn't there when the parking resolution was for you guys. Have you guys read that before we present to our resident? Because none of you guys haven't read that and getting for you to present it to us, and now it seems like nobody know what is going on. But we had to pay the price of getting that we get fee for that machine or whatever they call, and we had to get the price now to pay the resident. But you guys not getting informed and approve it. All of you guys approved that, and now nobody know about it. Now they want to blame the Master Lee who left already, who is not here at council. Another question I have is for the pool. I'm being coming here and say, why we only accept cash only? I want to know what is the reason why we cannot have another form of payment. That is ridiculous that we don't get that.
You may have not been in the room, that was addressed earlier, they're going to look into having credit cards.
Not just take memo.
Yeah.
All those will be looking and say your name and say that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Lois Grotto, 210 Glen Avenue. Mr. Park, I just want to let you know, with the parking passes that we've had in the past, so when there's a parking pass that's visitors and there's an expiration date, visitors don't normally stay for a year. So if they stay for the year, what are we going to do about that? Do you propose to put the visitor's pass for a year expiration date again?
Yeah, we go back to the.
So resident have it.
Let me answer it.
Okay, I just want to bring that point up because, like the sisters, I have people on my block that if I come to you and I show you for about a month, they've been on my block with a visitor's pass, it's like Mr. Kim said, they're taking up spots on the streets for the residents.
Yeah, it is allowed. I pay the
If you look at the state, they're not proving where they live, and their visitors normally don't stay for a year.
Thank you, Ms. Grotto. Next.
Yeah.
Yes.
Clown.
This is Alex Pioli from 329 East Columbia Avenue. The thing I'd like to discuss is parking, which has been quite a heated subject tonight. And I have a house. It's in front of a fire hydrant. I cannot park by my street in front of the fire hydrant. But there are people, and I'm not looking for a solution tonight. There are people across the street that run a business. 4 vehicles, not one of them has a commercial plate. Not one of them. So there is one van there, it's got ladders up there, and who wants to look at ladders and trucks on the weekend? If you go on your way home, you go up East Columbia Avenue, in the middle of the block, you'll see vehicles there, and every night, this side they park it, that side, this side, that side. They're following those rules as far as the sweeper is concerned, but they're supposed to have commercial plates. They're running businesses, 2 businesses in there, 2 businesses. On the right side of me, I think it's 325 or 327. In there also, they have a business. There's vehicles in and out during the day, so they don't have a regular job to work a regular 9-to-5 job. They run a business. They run a business on Saturday, they run a business on Sunday. I had to, not that they were in that business, they had an industrial power washer on Sunday, all afternoon, an industrial power washer. They washed one vehicle after the other, They can't all live there, or do they? I can't answer that, okay? It's a major problem. The other thing also is, they park in front of their own driveways at nighttime. Is that allowed? Is that ordinance allowed, to park in their own driveway? I mean, and block their own driveway? Because there's not enough space in their lot? I don't know. Something needs to happen on that. Please, anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, do we have radar enforcement yet in our police cars?
No, we're gonna answer it again. Anybody else? One other person, Mayor.
Charles Palazzo, 85 West Exit Boulevard. Do we have a facilities manager for the borough of Palisades Park?
That's me,
That's you.
but I'm on medical leave.
Are you certified for asbestos? Oh, I'm just saying, do we have?
a certified facilities operator?
Okay, and he's certified in asbestos?
No, I'm saying, that's the question, do we
Yes,
have?
do you have one that's certified to be able to? Okay. Next question is, can we, or can you, have some of the residents at some meetings with you, ask people what they think of some of these? For us to be hit with this every time we come to a meeting, a stack of things, 400 added pieces to it. Why don't you set up a community, some people that live in the community, aren't mayor and council, aren't school board, aren't this or that, or get people from the school, but I don't care where you get them from. But you can have a discussion with the local residents, running across them, instead of having these arguments and the discussions here, when things are brought up. Like I say, about the parking plan that you're changing here and you're going back, and was there a public committee with that, of residents, when you discussed doing it? Why don't you bring the public in? Let them ask you some questions and work it out before you change the law. Ask us. We'll be happy to tell you what's going on in our neighborhoods. I understand you can't see everything, but they can.
I completely agree with this gentleman.
What's that?
I completely, 100% agree with this gentleman. I think,
Thank you.
yeah, I really want to, to have some of the residents, give an input to all the things that you do before you decide.
Okay.
It's a session and regular meetings, different days.
Okay, motion to close the
In the time, no.
Make a motion.
Stephanie, second.
On Memorial Day.
We will have.
All in favor? So, so first question, Susan, Carla, do we have any type of counter protection for our police officers? What's going on with the PD budget and the cutting to it, and why do we need a director and not a consultant?
There is a difference between a director and a consultant. The director, depending on whether there is a police chief or not, if there is a police chief, the director has less authority. If there is not a police chief and only an officer in charge, a police director has the ability to make decisions and implement them in the police department. So there is a difference. A consultant can only recommend. So a director has authority to make decisions. So that's the difference.
I have a question.
And they're only employed at the will of the governing body, so they can be, if it doesn't work, just like if the council believes the consultants weren't as effective as they would have liked, if they believe the director position isn't effective, they can just eliminate it.
I'm sorry,
Question.
what did you say at the beginning that
Is it,
if there's a director and a police chief?
if there's a police chief, the director has less authority. If there is not a police chief, by statute, these are the laws, if there is not a police chief, a director has more authority over the operation of the police department.
So why don't we just get a chief?
Well, you could do that too.
John, I have a question. I have a quick question about that position as a director. If I recall, the statute stated that if we hire a director there, the appropriate authority that lies on the council will be given to the director. Is that correct, or am I
Well, the
missing?
ordinance, actually, if you go with a director, our ordinance, and I sent the memo, it has to be changed, because it's not up to date. And that would be the governing body's decision, if you wanted the director to be the appropriate authority. Probably, most towns that have the director make the director the appropriate authority to give them more authority in the department, but that would be the governing body's decision.
The last question with regard to the police department budget, you cut every budget accordingly. Mr. Council President Vitri raised a good point of equipment and services. Those options still can be accomplished by passing a bond.
Right.
So it's something that the governing body can consider, rather than putting it into the line item budget, we could pass a bond. Most of the vehicles today are SUVs, and their life is in accordance with the bonding rate that's qualifies them to be bonded for. So that's something to
I
do.
just have a bunch of questions. Was the dollars taken out of that budget line item for like the $200,000 almost for the account
No,
consultants?
so that
So
one.
that money's still there?
Correct, well, we're in month 4, so a third of it, 25% of it already was spent, so 25% of the 150 was
But
spent.
it wasn't 150, because I looked at the budget, there were other things they were paid for, so it was over $200,000.
Yeah, but those guys got 50,000 each, right? So that-
No, some of them got extra pay too, for, I guess they did extra
Actually, that was
things.
additional services, that was part of it.
Right,
Not
so
part
you
of-
paid that out too, I said. Yeah, no, you paid out extra.
That was a different line item.
Oh, that's a different line
That's a different
item.
line item.
Okay,
The
okay.
consultants just got.
So you just have 150,000 on
For those three
that,
people.
minus whatever.
Whatever, and then we stopped it, I think, effective at the last special meeting, so whatever that.
But those monies can be used for
You
equipment.
can, well, that's salary and wages. I mean, I guess you can do a transfer after October.
Administrator, I have a question.
Curious.
Go ahead, are you done?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Question, yeah, I got
a question. I have a question, Borough Administrator. I have a question about this borough, which police director and consultants. It seems like a couple of the councilors, including the mayor, wanted to remove the current consultants, right? Who is in charge of the police department? Is it the OIC?
Officer in charge.
Officer in charge. What does a consultant do? Are they in charge to lead the police department or provide sound advice and consultation? What was their purpose?
The latter.
Advise and consult. So the problem was not about the consultants, it lays on the OIC.
Well,
Am I correct?
let's not discuss any employee, okay? That, we have to give, if you wanna discuss that, we can, but we have to do it at the next meeting, I have to give the person a rights notice.
Okay.
My question is, why were they fired? Is there a reason why they were fired?
Let's get through the questions.
Oh, I guess we forgot the next question.
So Marcia Shaw brought up, she said that the parking plan, the new parking plan was a good system, and now there's no control. Mr. Jones at 216 Wood Avenue, he observes many drunk individuals, and perhaps the early opening of selling of liquor contributes to that, and maybe there's some type of humanitarian work that we could do for these people. Robert DeVito made a statement with regard to harassing gay employees. Nearest reporter said that no one read the resolution for the parking ordinance, and then asked on repeat that we use credit cards at the pool, which has been addressed already by the mayor. Lois Grotto spoke a statement about parking ordinance, and that some people utilize visitor passes for a year. Resident at 329 Columbia Avenue, Mr. Beerley, talked about commercial vehicles blocking driveways, and if that's permitted, I don't know, that would be a question for law enforcement.
I don't believe it is actually, you're not, because I always remember when I first heard that you're not allowed to park in front of your own driveway, I said, yeah, but I believe that you're not permitted, but that is a question for the police department.
Mr. Carnavale asked if there is.
Yeah, I don't think.
Mr. Carnavale asked if there's radar enforcement, again, a question for police. Joe Spalazzo asked if there's a certified facilities manager with an asbestos or with the mold certification, the answer is no. And as June commented about the commercial residential parking. That's all I have.
Okay.
So, all right,
So you want me to make a motion to close?
Yeah, can I get a motion to close and
Can I make a
go right
motion?
into the regular meeting?
I make a motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, this is a regular meeting of the mayor and council, and notice was given as follows. One, notice was filed January 18, 2022, with the Record, New York Star Ledger, both official newspapers of the borough. Two, notice was posted in the bulletin board and copies preserved in the clerk's office. Roll call, please.
Chang? Yes. Kim?
Here.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Min will be absent from today's meeting.
Can I get a motion to accept these absences, please?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Park?
Yes.
Farah?
Yes, and anything that I should be recused from.
Oh, no, this is just roll call.
Roll call.
Petrie? Borough Attorney?
Here.
Borough Administrator? Adoption of previous month's minutes for March 22nd, 2022.
Please have a motion to accept these minutes, please.
I make a motion.
Can I get a second?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, consent agenda 120 through 136.
Please have a motion to adopt consent agenda resolutions 120 through 136.
No, there's
No, those
separate.
those are all consent.
I make a motion.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Chang?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Park? Farah?
Yes, except what I don't know if there's anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I think the last one, because I think my son runs that program. Yeah, that last one I had read.
136.
136.
127.
Program bill.
129, 136.
Oh.
Yeah, so I don't think I can vote.
Okay, then.
Alright, city is refusing from 127, 129, 136.
Right.
Okay, Petrie?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, off consent 137.
Okay, I get a motion to adopt the all consent agenda resolution 137.
This is the amendment to the 2022 municipal budget.
I make a motion.
So we're just amending it, right?
Right.
Got it?
Yep.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Chang?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Park?
Yes.
Farah?
Yes.
Petrie?
Yes.
Okay, everyone, this is where you have to pay attention. 138, this is a resolution regarding the police committee and appropriate authority.
Okay, so this resolution, if I heard the mayor correctly,
It's to temporarily remove Councilman Beatrice from the police
and
committee
include the whole entire governing body.
and to bring matters of the police department to the governing body, as the appropriate authority.
I have a question though, but then if you're gonna vote on the latter, resolution, we're gonna give it, governing appropriate, our, what is it?
Appropriate authority.
Appropriate authority to the director.
Well, at some point, but you don't have that yet. Right now, you don't have to.
So let me get this straight, I'm not allowed to do anything with the police.
No, the entire governing body
Correct.
is
No, he's talking
is
about-
participating in the complete,
I admit, but I'm not supposed
The,
to.
all right, let's just be clear. So, Councilman Vitry, if they approve this, will be temporarily removed from the committee. In terms of when the governing body needs to discuss a police matter, you can participate unless you feel you have a conflict. That's your decision to make. Nobody, as you're sitting here as a council person at a council meeting, nobody can tell you that you cannot participate. You can be advised that you have a conflict, but then ultimately it's your decision as to whether you think you have a conflict or you don't. You don't have to say anything tonight.
I'm not saying nothing.
Yeah. So that's the motion, we need a motion, motion and a second and a roll call. And you gotta recuse.
So can I get a motion to, approve?
Just like you, I only buy you.
So anybody?
Motion.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Jane,
Yes?
Kim,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Pereira, Hughes, Vitry,
No.
okay?
Number 139 was to authorize the administrator to advertise the police director, but someone's gonna give me credentials, correct?
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Need a motion and second.
So can I get a motion to approve that, please? Authorizing the, yeah, advertise.
That's what this is for, motion to advertise.
Right, so how are we gonna advertise it on the newspaper? or-
Yes.
I see.
I would like to table this, I'd like to make a motion to table this.
So you got a motion to table, is there a second to the motion to table?
Oh,
Cause I don't know what's going on right now.
All right, that's, okay. So you got a motion and second to table the motion to advertise for a director, so you need a roll call vote to table.
Okay, this is to table 139.
All right, if you vote yes to table, it means that.
Hold on, we're voting yes to table the advertising.
Correct.
No, hold on.
The
We're
resolution
voting to table authorizing the administrator.
to advertise for a
I don't
director.
have to do anything if you guys vote.
Right, if you vote yes, nothing will be done. So if you vote no, then you'll go ahead with the other motion. So you have to vote yes or no. Okay, so that's a no. Go ahead.
Okay, Jane,
She said no.
she said no.
She said no.
Kim,
No to table.
Right.
Okay.
Kim,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Pereira,
Can't.
Pereira,
Refuse.
please. Vitry,
Yes.
Okay, so that's table.
No, it's table.
There'll be no director.
I have to do it.
Is that, no, you don't have to vote. Next?
again, to be clear, the VA is not taking any action.
Correct.
Okay, 140, adoption of weekly status report form.
Or facsimile of something like this, okay.
Okay.
I wanna make a motion to adopt it.
Okay,
Template, have I second that?
Template, yeah.
Okay, roll call, please.
I'm sorry, Pereira, did you second?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. Jane,
Yes?
Kim,
This is the created communication.
the form.
Communication.
Yes.
Right.
Hart,
Yes.
Pereira,
Yes.
Vitry.
No.
Okay, 141, eliminating take-home vehicles.
Can I get a motion to approve that?
I wanna make a motion.
The vehicle, take home vehicle.
Or other than the fire official,
We have OEM, fire.
OEM chief, whoever that is in charge of that, fire officials, and any police, and any department head who lives in town and needs the vehicle for their municipal.
This will not affect the safety of our services, correct? Those are gonna carry their own private cars, we'll reimburse it.
For
Yeah, that's what
safety.
happened. The motion the mayor proposed was that anybody who needs a municipal vehicle to do their job while they're here will still have use of a municipal vehicle, they will not have to use their personal vehicle. The only thing they'll have to use their personal vehicle for is to get back and forth to work. other than the people we just identified.
What's the part about living in town?
Then they can keep the vehicle that they have, if they're using one.
So if you live in town, you can take home the vehicle.
So you need a motion and second.
The vehicle will not be used for private use.
It should not be used unless you're a fire, because they are first responders. So a fireman would use it for personal use, because theoretically, they would go straight from wherever they are, right to the fire with their vehicle.
They'll bring it back and then use their private cars and then go shopping at ShopRite, right? Good.
Can I make the motion, we need a second, please.
I'll second.
Okay, Jane?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Park?
Yes.
Pereira? Yes. Petrie?
No.
Okay. 142, requesting to change the meeting time to the fourth Monday at 6:30 PM.
I have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
So it's 6:30 on the fourth Monday.
Yes.
Correct.
6 o'clock when there's a closed session.
Yes.
Okay. Effective when?
Immediately.
Next month.
Yes. So,
May-
Do you have that
May
date?
right?
Do you just, do you have it on your calendar, the date? Just so we can say it.
so the fourth Monday will be the 23rd of May.
23rd of May?
6 o'clock for closed session, 6:30 for the workshop, and 7 PM for the regular.
No,
Right.
6:30 for both the work session and the regular.
Yeah, one closing.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, did I do roll call?
No.
Jane?
Roll call.
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Park?
Yes.
Pereira?
Yes.
Petrie?
No,
Okay.
conflicts with my schedule.
Okay. And, okay, second reading public hearing of ordinance 2022-1, we just need to close and adopt this, we
Yes.
did not do it
Need
at
a
the last
motion to
meeting.
close the public hearing and adopt.
So can I have a motion to close and adopt ordinance 2022-1, please? We are off consent. No, second.
22-1.
This was the
Ordinance.
claims
We had a
ordinance.
hearing last meeting.
Right,
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, second reading public hearing ordinance 2022-2.
Okay, may I please have a motion to open ordinance 2022-2 to the public?
I'll make a motion.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody out in the public would like to be heard? Yes.
Just on
On
this
that
ordinance.
ordinance.
Yes.
Yeah, so what is the content? What is the,
The cap bank is whenever you don't, the state allows you to budget a certain increase, maximum increase every year.
so what is the maximum, and what do you wanna change it?
In fact, they're not changing it, they didn't budget to that amount, so the state allows you to save that for a future date. If in another year, you had an emergency or something significant occurred, and you needed to exceed what the cap was, the state allows you to bank, what they call bank, that money you didn't use for a future date. It's a common practice recommended by the chief financial officer, recommended by auditors. It's a sound fiscal decision made by probably every municipality in the state of New Jersey.
Savings.
Right. Okay?
Anyone else?
Close and adopt.
Make a motion to close and adopt?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Council reports?
Council reports. Councilwoman Chang.
Actually, I'm in the liaison with the school board, so, I heard that they're going to have a new registration, from this fall. So, they're going to re-register everyone to make sure, the school has the correct information for every student. And, the address and everything, so, I hope that, it will go through well. And also, in front of the school board office, the parking lot was done, so it's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Pereira.
I will be working with Karen Ascenti on looking into having credit cards. We'll get all of that before the next meeting, so before Memorial Day, we can make that decision.
Someone suggested, just, I don't know if you heard of Venmo, you may want to look into that.
I think now they also charge a fee, so I don't remember, but I could be wrong. And the other thing that I did want to address, is that mold issue. So I just want to be absolutely positively sure that we are in full mode of relocating anyone who was sitting in that mold area.
So here's-
And that, if you could give us
Yeah,
an,
so-
just give an
so-
update?
So, Here's how it came about. There was a leak that was noticed in the police locker room. It's an old building, leaks happen. The building has asbestos, the building probably has mold that's hidden that we haven't seen and probably never will see. When the leak was discovered, it was brought to the attention of the building, us. We contacted a plumber who went down there and said, hey, there is asbestos where it's leaking from, so we need to get somebody in. Not uncommon, we do it all the time. The asbestos guy came in and said, okay, I can take care of the asbestos to get to the pipe, so you can repair it, but there's mold on it. We called in a mold person. We don't do that, there's professionals who do just that. The mold person said, there's mold there, there's also mold here, and the condition of the ceiling tiles for the age of the roof and everything else going on should be replaced. Let me take a look around. While he was there, we said to him, look at the rest of the building at this point. He did. He discovered common mold, which is common to every house and building and whatever you're gonna find in. But the area of concern was he did discover some black mold as well. Once he found that, it happened to be in my office, and in the police locker room, we said, okay, fine, now we need to bring it to another level. We immediately started calling, Servpro, and a couple other people came in and are working on prices to remove everything they see, which is black mold and mold, to decontaminate and fix it, and then replace the ceiling tiles, take the ceiling tiles down, clean everything above it, and restore it to a healthy environment, rugs, hard surfaces, whatever. But they recommended an air quality and further investigation for the mold, which is happening tomorrow. The two areas of concern was our office, so Gina is no longer allowed to go in our office. She's working next door in the adjacent office. We're keeping the windows open at all times. Myself and Austin's on the road most of the time anyway, so he's limited in the office. I'm trying to limit as much as I can in the office. Hopefully when these results come back, they won't be that bad. We don't know the extent or the time or the dollars that'll be associated, that's why we keep asking, that we need to do this. What's gonna be involved in the time of remediation, the time of, and the cost. Hopefully that's where it turns out and ends tomorrow, or a couple days after we get the report, no one.
What about the police department?
So the locker room, as long as the cops are limited in the time that they're spending down there, so if somebody's gonna spend hours down there at a time, they don't recommend that. But if they're going in to change and get their equipment, everything's in a concealed locker, stuff that's outside should be put away. Depending on the extent of the mold, then we'll find out.
You're not doing remediation in the locker room?
Of course we will, yeah.
Oh, so all will be
Throughout the whole,
remediated?
they are now gonna go through the whole building
Okay.
to find out what's going on.
All right,
But
thank you.
that's pretty much summary.
One of the residents also said that we may need in the future, certified.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, once we get this taken care of, I think I'm gonna recommend to you guys, whether you do it or not, it's fine, a monthly inspection. Maybe a guy, like, right now we have monthly, pest control that comes into the building. For the most part, it works, not always, there's some big guys around, but, I mean, so maybe that's something we do on a quarterly inspection, that comes in, checks the mold, and see if there's anything else going
Yeah,
around.
that's really sure,
Yeah.
safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kim?
Yes, well, two things to report. The first one is, as you can see from the outside, we installed our first LED solar panel beta phase. You'll see our number one, we have a couple of candidates for the LED equipment, and that one's the first one. And we're gonna try them out. It's motion censored, it's light censored, conserves energy, it's green energy, conserves the environment. And not only that, if we ask PSC&G to install a dark area in our streets, it'll cost us thousands of dollars. This machine, this pole that you see outside, just cost me, which I put in myself, because this is my baby, it cost me around $1,200. I'm estimating between $1,000 to $1,500 per pole with the LED solar panel to be installed on the dark places of Palisades Park, so we can manage the situation that's happening in Broad Avenue. It's getting dangerous. People are afraid to go home after a hard day's work in the bus. I think it's time that we have to really take care of public safety seriously. So this is my first step of that initiative. I appreciate that. Secondly, also with that, I was talking to Councilman Mike Vitri to start a neighborhood watch program, where each district, there's 9 districts in our town, where we'll find volunteers. I'm sure they're able and willing. We'll provide them with education, with the equipment, and direct communication with the representatives of the police, so they could participate in increasing the safety of our town. Thank you.
Help before, I guess I'm not able to do that because I'm not on the police committee.
No, you still do it.
So, I have no other,
You can still do it, Mike.
I have, you just told me I'm not involved.
You're not in the committee, but you can still be working with us. Yeah, absolutely.
No committee report.
His feelings are hurt.
Yeah, I have a DPW report, which most of you already concerned by council members. And it is noted that everything is under controllable situation. That means we're finding out the problem and the procedures to be done in a short time. That's what we are doing, and most of the DPW report covers that, and it says this is kind of this building needs extensive renovation. If we should deal with kind of a committee made, and we have to discuss what we have to do with it. But at this moment, I just have a report that I urge the council to take immediate action, but we don't know what to do at this moment. We need to have some type of report, what we have to decide, what we have to go. But no report like that is provided yet. So I'm just having a report with the pictures that as a DPW report. That's it.
Yeah, all right, thank you. I just have one more thing to add. It's a community cleanup day that we're sponsoring as a borough, this Saturday, April 30th at 10 o'clock. We're gonna meet in front of the borough. We're gonna go up and down the Broad Avenue from Edsel down to, I believe, I don't know how far we're gonna go down, but at 10 o'clock, we're gonna have a cleanup day, so I would love to have your presence and participation, this Saturday at 10 o'clock. That's all I have. Can I have a motion to open to the public at this time?
I'll make a motion.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Once again, we'll have, 3-minute time limit, please, one time, so please gather your questions together and, yes, we'll answer all at once.
okay, I have a comment to Mr. Lorenzo about the leaking roof. He knows well that his office and Gina's office and Austin's office has been on and off leaking. If we have the remediation, that's cool, and an inspection every month. However, I would suggest to replace the roof over that portion of the building. It's not that big, there's only one air conditioning machine, I believe, up there. Because if you do all of that and it keeps leaking, you're still gonna get mold. So maybe it'd be financially more responsible to replace the roof over that section. It's not that big. Because we have 4 roofs on the building.
Got it.
Wait, I'm sorry, sir. The other thing is the Department of Public Works, it floods down there. Somebody should address that. Those people are sitting down there, they're flooding, their roof was leaking, I think they fixed the roof. I've made a suggestion that they build on top of the DPW building. Maybe relocate some of the offices here, down there, something like that. Maybe you guys should think about that. But the most important thing would be the leaking roof. The police locker room, last time I was here over a year ago, the water leak was from the air conditioner machine. Since I haven't been involved, I really don't know about the mold, and that's it for now.
Okay, thank you. Yes?
My name is Youngmin Jung, 50 is the Palisades Boulevard. I became a president of the Palisades Park Chamber of Commerce, which was established 1949, March 15. So I respect, this Chamber of Commerce, and this is important organization for a town's economy. And as you see, like 95%, more than 95% of the Broad Avenue small business owners are Korean American business owner. So, we wanted to have an annual meeting, just once a year, at the town hall, but Mr. Mayor said, not only us, so many other organization, requested to use this one, but I believe, Chamber of Commerce, is like a special relation to, mayors and councils and municipal authorities. So I just like, one more time, like I already, talked to, Deputy, Clark about this matter, but if you want me to write a formal request matter for, not this time, but we just submit it and then, mayor and council allow it. Us to use it 30 minutes, 1 hour to have an annual meeting, one sighting of 2 years, that's it. So allow us. And also former president, he already suggested about coming May next month, posted park sidewalk sales and street festival. So during the pandemic, right now this is with pandemic, but a small business owner, they wanna just clean up the winter clothing and also introduce seasonal new arrivals to the people. And also we want to plan to have a encouraging concert in a gathering together and have a good time. So I just humbly ask your corporations, and also we just allow us to block the block party, and we can do that. So mayor and council, please respect the Heritage Park Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much.
Susan Brown, to address Paul, what you said, if you would ask residents who own a home, to please put their porch lights on, it's pennies. You put a porch light on when it's dark out overnight, it does make the streets a little bit safer, because so many of the streets are dark. That's one. Number two, should you all decide, you're not gonna use stunt doubles, you're all gonna really show up at a meeting and discuss a police director, and you decide you might want one, how much is that going to impact our budget? I mean, I'm sure you've got a figure in mind somewhere, and that's gonna add to the budget. What's the sense at this point when we're really floating?
No idea.
No, this one.
Regarding 2022 budget, when is the time frame to finalize approve? And that's the number one question. Second question is, you mentioned about weekly status report. Is it going to be available to the public? Number three is, we just spent 1.5 hours for work concession. At the last meeting, we spent 2 hours. So, do you think, I think this is deserved to have a meeting and separate day, rather than, with a regular meeting.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'm surprised in the morning.
What's your name and address?
I'm 43 Haley Avenue, James, I'm surprised in the morning, when I wake up, I see the Korean couple newspaper, stories for the mayor, you use for the tax dollar public property for the personal. Did you use?
All the questions are gonna be answered at the end.
Okay.
What's the
What else?
question?
Wait, I'm sorry.
You know,
What's the question again?
The question was, did he use a
also,
municipal vehicle?
all of them know council member. You didn't know, but mayor, he did use public tax money. I want to
Somebody
ask.
translate for him? Where's our translator?
Mr. Lin, can you, please do?
Oh, there you are. Could you explain one more time, sir, please?
No, that's it, the question was done, so who's next, please? So we'll answer that later. Yes, sir, Joe?
Yeah, I just found out that you're going to have a Memorial Day parade this year. I was just wondering if you wanted the antique cars again. Think about it and get back to me.
Memorial Day and. Anyone else? Yeah, Dennis.
I have a question for Mr. Morgan. I didn't get clear that he said that he's paying for that light, that he put it as a test. That's what you're doing?
That's my project, so I decided to.
And another question, why you put it in broad instead of put it in a very dark place? That way it work better, because we have a lot of dark street here. Because here it's like kind of clear.
else? Yes.
My name is Tamin. I live in 545 Fifth Street, Palisade Park. Today I saw the Korean newspaper. So we are trying to lower the tax. How can it be used for personal? I asked the mayor. That's it.
Well, I'm sorry, anyone else?
I didn't understand what
We understood it. So, you know what? Elaborate. Who's next? Anyone else? Okay, I don't see any else, no other hands. Motion to close?
No,
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I have 3 questions.
Excuse me, what's your name, say?
I'm Bob Lee, 19 Henry Ave.
All right.
Regarding our waste management budget, was it $11 million? And you guys were saying that's high, but that's what everyone else is paying, right? Why can't we make a separate waste management department for our town and use 2 million? I mean, I'm sure I could do it if you guys paying 2 million a year. Second, regarding Councilman Petrie, is he being temporarily removed because there was allegations against him without any factual evidence? So if that's the case, if I make an allegation against the mayor, will you be temporarily removed? Third, I think these elderly were trying to say there was an article about you, the mayor, using the borough's car and the card for gas for your personal use. That was mentioned in the New Jersey Comptroller report. I think that was what they were trying to say. So those were my 3 questions.
Yeah. Austin actually used his card for one.
This is,
his office.
Yes, yes, Kim.
Kim Tussie, West Ethel Boulevard. Paul, I'll be on your neighborhood watch. I'll join your neighborhood watch.
Thank you very much, Kim.
I would
Appreciate
definitely join
Thank you.
it.
God bless.
Thank you. Okay, can I get a motion?
Watch my neighbor.
Motion to close? You guys second? All in favor?
Dave, I gotta go, but I'd like to answer the last question about the waste management.
Okay.
So, why everybody agrees it's too high is because it's a big increase from the previous year, but it went out, as the borough administrator stated earlier, it went out to bid 3 times. Public bidding laws, you have to comply with. And those are the prices that are out there that every community is seeing. The majority of that increase is due to the disposal cost, not the labor, tipping. So it's what we pay when we bring it to the facility, and it's that aspect of it that went up. So even if it was in-house, you'd still have to pay those tipping fees, which make up the majority of it. Some towns do have it in-house, they went away from that, they went to the private halls because it was more cost-effective and cost-efficient. Because when you have your own employees, you have the insurances that you have to pay, you have to buy the vehicles, which are they cost a couple $100,000, the garbage trucks. So, in fairness though, maybe, and I think the borough administrator last year looked into it, he did a cost analysis, and at that time, it wasn't worthwhile to bring it in-house. That doesn't mean that it shouldn't be looked at again, but to answer your question, it has been looked at. In the past, it wasn't deemed cost efficient. The increase in cost this year are predominantly due to the tipping fees, and that's set by the outside facilities, and there's only a couple of them that do it, and you're limited, and there's no way to decrease that cost. So everything that was done with respect to trying to get the lowest possible amount of money for waste disposal costs were done. And those are the numbers. It's a 5-year, by the way, that $11 million is for 5 years, it's not for 1 year. And it was,
That's
deemed to go with the 5 years because it was less costly to go for 5 years than to do it for a shorter term. It was higher if you went for a shorter term. And you can't predict the future, but nobody's anticipating those tipping fees to go down. So the recommendation was to lock it in for 5 years and not be susceptible to further increases. Because no matter what happens going forward, this community is locked into those fees for 5 years, and they will not have to absorb any increases. Okay, Mayor, I'm sorry, I have to go, but.
No, that's a question. Okay, so the first question, we'll close. gonna-
No, they closed already, no more questions.
Okay, so the first question was a series of questions for Mr. Carnaval. Said that the roof should be replaced above the admin office, the DPW floods, and the PD was probably due to an AC leak. To answer the questions kind of quickly, the replacement cost for the roof was discussed to Mr. Park's point, and he said that there was nothing in it, but we had done this years ago. It was in excess of $300,000 to replace the roof, so we chose not to do it at that time. It's something we can look in again. The DPW floods, unfortunately, it's flooded for 100 years that it's been there. If there's any desire to put a second floor on top, which could be done, there is a cost to that. It's something we can look at. And as far as the PD leak problems in the offices, that in the locker rooms downstairs, it is due to an AC leak that was redressed years ago or last year. The other issue is the sanitary sewers, which probably should be addressed and updated. Mr. Jung made a comment with regard to business owners and that the Chamber of Commerce should weigh in on some town hall meetings with the mayor or the council or something to that effect. Susan Brower said that a porch light to stay on costs pennies and would help the conditions with regard to safety. And what would the cost of the police director would be? To answer that question, we wouldn't know until we advertise for it or set a parameter for it, which has been tabled. Ms. Wong asked, what is the budget time frame and what is the status of the report, budget time frame? We're complying with the state guidelines for introducing the budget and adopting the budget, so we are in compliance. The quicker we have it done, the better it is for everybody to get to the state, and I believe the deadline is June. Mr. No from 43 Henry asked about, I believe, the mayor using a borough vehicle. Joe Spalazzo wants to know and thank you, Joe, wants to know if we would be interested in having antique cars for the Memorial Day Parade. Ms. Neris asked a question about who's paying for the pole and why it's in front of the Borough Hall. I'll defer to Mr. Paul King to answer that.
You want me to go ahead?
Yeah, sure.
Great.
Yeah.
So to answer your question there, is the pole is stationed there as a beta phase. That pole is set so that we could try different products in the market, find the most suitable one for our own unique environment. Reason I did that is because I don't want to put in so much money on a product. Let's say we buy 25, 50 of them, and find out there's some kind of issue, it doesn't fit to our environment and to our purposes. So that is a testing phase. The #1 candidate is up there right now, and we're gonna try that out. And if mayor and council feel it's a good product, we'll order that. And the pole is actually almost custom made. It was very difficult to order poles on a COVID. It takes 3, 4, 5 months leeway. But once we decide, we can get a very competitive price that looks much better, and it's aluminum. And the benefit of that pole is that it doesn't go down deep into the ground like PSCNG pole street lights. So the applications vary, it's very diverse. Matter of fact, we could even put the LED solar panel lights on the Lindbergh School that's very dark. Many applications. We need to try them out first, get approval from the council as well as the people. Take a look, hey, that's good, I like that. And then we'll order that. And once we order that, we will devise with the DPW and the parking authority to find out the most darkest places. After that, we'll have an opportunity for the people to give us recommendations where they feel is needed the most. And we'll designate a spot. I'm estimating between 20 to 50, but as you know, the budget's been really cut off. But hey, there's a lot of people who's with this. They want to light up the streets because light deters crime. So I'm sure we're gonna get some fundraising going, whatever it takes, but I'm gonna get it done. Thank you.
Right, yeah.
I hope you continue with that, it doesn't stay only in
Next question
campaign.
was from
Doing campaign.
545
Question
Fifth
about the
Street.
polls,
545 Fifth Street, Mr. Lynn asked
Campaign
about mayor's use of a vehicle. That was followed up by a question from 19 Henry, and I'm sorry I didn't get your name, sir. 19 Henry, I'm sorry I didn't get your name. Bob, you have the last name, please? Lee. Lee? Bob Lee asked about the waste, the garbage disposal, which Mr. Scatino answered. Allegations with regard to Councilperson Petrie, and his status on the committee, and it's correct, at this point, there are only allegations alleged and a tort claim notice. I guess it could apply to everybody, for that matter, if the council so chooses to do that. And the third was about the article in the paper with regard to the mayor, and Kim Tussing followed, was the last question about a neighborhood watch program. If anybody feels free to answer any of those questions.
I have a question, Mr. BA. We don't have authority to remove the mayor because he's alleged and accused.
That would be a legal question.
And John just left.
I don't.
If it's like, right.
So, no, I have a rebuttal to make. In regards to the usage of the vehicles, Mr. BA, who has the authority to use the motor vehicles?
So it's my understanding, and what's been past practice in the borough, is every borough employee has the ability to use a borough vehicle, if needed.
Okay.
I never used it.
So, okay, that's, okay. So the vehicle was used, yes. That was during the pandemic, okay? And, I needed the vehicle to get some donations from the people to, share it with our residents. I was responsible for giving out the food. I went out to the, food facilities to get some food. Sir, be quiet. It's not your turn to speak, is it? Are you the mayor?
This is
Last time I
campaign
checked, you
season.
weren't. You speak another word, I'll kick you out of here, please.
Chill.
Okay?
Your employees, be quiet.
As a question was asked, I'm answering, so it's not your turn.
Thank you.
Okay. So, I did use the vehicle for that purposes. During the pandemic, I was here, mind you, 8 AM to 6 PM almost every day, 6 days a week.
Yes.
Okay, looking out for the best interest for our residents. That's what I did. So if you wanna fault me for using the vehicle for a few days, for a short period of time, to help the residents of the Palisades Park, I'm sorry, okay? That's fine. And the gas card was never used. So whoever made that accusation, they are dead wrong, okay? Never. You could go through all the files. Have I used the gas card? I used my own money when I used the vehicle to fill up the gas. Okay? And as far as the office is concerned, again, we talked about the leaks, water leaks. Some of the repairs had to be done, renovations had to be done, furniture's got replaced. Okay? As far as using the phone, Apple Watch, and a, what else was it?
MacBook?
MacBook, okay? Those are oral usage. Ladies and gentlemen, the mayor is entitled to have those items to communicate and to do my work. I'm not here 24/7, okay?
So the
Mr.
respectful.
Monteleone, can you please remove him out of here, please?
Thank you.
Okay. So those are the reasons for the usage of those items, okay? As a mayor, I'm entitled and I have the right to use those items, okay? Plus, the vehicle was, I was inconvenienced with using one vehicle, sharing with my wife, and
No, you never understand.
we have a business administrator who heard the concern, and he gave me the keys to use it for temporarily, and that's what I did, for the usage and to support the community. So,
Are you done, sir?
yes.
All right.
Can I get a motion, please?
Because I've been elected by.
I get a motion to adjourn the meeting,
Listen,
please.
you, I
You
heard
don't
that
have the right to
you
do
borrowed
that.
the vehicle when you had the car accident.
Yeah.
And once the cop patroller report came out, he
Start
got this
doing
key
campaign
right
during the
away.
meeting. Start doing campaign, ¿por qué?
All right?
It's pretty sad that some
Don't
people
knock on
are
the
sitting
shit
up
out.
here
This
making
is
a political
campaign, now
agenda.
they.
No political
bring
agenda,
everybody
it's a
up.
All in favor?
Right.
Thank you.
This is my MacBook. This is mine.
Fine.
I don't have an iPad.
All of them, we're done.
You guys
All
wanna-
of them.